from the torch to the broken chains of tyranny at her feet. A monument not carved, but manufactured.
In 1875, amidst the smoke of Paris, a colossal dream began to...
Every curve, every fold of the robe had to be perfected here first, before it could be magnified 100 times over.
But clay cannot stand 151 feet tall. They needed a spine. The solution was a revolutionary iron skeleton, a flexible pylon that would move with the wind. The skeleton was forged from puddling iron, chosen for its elasticity and strength. Each beam was connected by hand, rivet by rivet.
Brute force met precision. There were no pneumatic guns here, only muscle and hammers.
The transcription for this scene is, slowly, the central pylon rose, a 92-foot spine of iron lattice.
The workers were acrobats of industry, scaling heights with zero protection. Eiffel designed this web of trusses to act like a spring, absorbing the stress of the ocean storms. This framework was the hidden genius. Without it, the copper skin would collapse under its own weight. But the heavy spine couldn't touch the delicate skin. A secondary, lighter frame was needed.
These flat bars, called the armature, would act as the ribs, connecting the skin to the spine.
Thousands of these bars were forged, each one unique, each one destined for a specific spot on the statue's body. The skeleton stood waiting. Now, it was time to give her a face.
The process of enlargement began. They didn't just build the big statue, they grew it in stages.
Using the law of proportions, they measured the small model to calculate the dimensions of the giant one. It was a geometric nightmare. Thousands of points in space had to be mapped perfectly. They built rough wooden armatures to support the plaster for the full-scale sections. Tons of plaster were mixed by hand. They applied the plaster thick and heavy, shaping the full-scale finger. Once dry, the sculptors carved the fine details. This plaster finger is taller than a man. The studio became a surreal landscape of giant body parts. Corrections were made with a chisel and fresh plaster.
The scale was overwhelming. A 4-foot model became a 151-foot reality.
The head alone was over 17 feet tall. But this plaster was just a mold, not the statue itself. Now came the hardest part, turning positive plaster into negative wood. To shape the metal, they first needed a wooden bed. This is the reverse mold process. They built a lattice directly over the plaster model, capturing the exact negative shape. Every undulation was traced. The wood was cut to match the plaster's terrain perfectly. These wooden cradles would serve as the anvil for the copper. Thousands of these wooden negatives were constructed. The skin was surprisingly thin, just 2.4 millimeters, the thickness of 2 pennies pressed together. Before it could be shaped, the metal had to be softened with heat. This process, called annealing, made the copper pliable. Then, the repoussé began. Hammering from the inside out. They didn't use metal hammers here. Wood on copper prevented tearing the skin. Strike by strike, the flat sheet memorized the shape of the mold.
It was exhausting work. The copper resisted every inch of the way.
They had to ensure the hammering didn't make the metal too thin and brittle. Once shaped, the piece was removed. A fragment of a giant. The rough edges were trimmed to prepare for joining. Precision was key. This piece had to fit perfectly with its neighbor. The floor became a jigsaw puzzle of copper. To join them, holes were drilled along the seams.
Copper rivets, not iron, were used to prevent chemical corrosion.
The rivets were hammered flush. From the outside, the statue needed to look seamless.
It took a team. One man inside, one man outside.
But copper is soft. It needed stiffening. Iron straps were fashioned to line the interior.
Crucially, they placed an insulation layer between the copper and iron to prevent galvanic corrosion, a battery effect that would eat the statue.
This ribbing gave the skin its rigidity. Section by section, the 300 distinct pieces were completed. The toes alone were large enough to fit a man inside. Remember, she wasn't green yet. In the factory, she was the color of a brand new penny. The 7 rays of the crown were attached, representing the 7 seas and continents. The eyes were empty windows to the Paris sky. The complex texture of the hair required the most intricate hammering. The original torch was designed to be a lighthouse, containing panes of glass.
The scale was so immense, the workers took their lunch breaks inside her features.
The pieces were done. Now came the dress rehearsal. A steam-powered crane began the vertical assembly. In the courtyard of Rue de Chazelle, they would build her fully for the first time. The skin was hung on the skeleton like a curtain, never rigidly fixed, allowed to float. The skin was hung on the skeleton like a curtain, never rigidly fixed, allowed to float. Layer by layer, the copper puzzle was locked together. She began to rise over the rooftops of Paris. It was dangerous work, high above the cobblestones. Parisians gathered daily to watch the headless giantess grow.
Steady, lads! Watch the ropes! Heave! Finally, the face of liberty was lifted to the sky.
With a heavy thud, the head was secured. The right arm, the bearer of the torch, was the heaviest single section. It had to be anchored deep into the iron spine to survive the leverage of its own weight.
No sooner was she finished than the order was given. Tear her down! Every bolt was removed, every rivet checked.
Before removal, every piece was numbered and coded. A massive 3D instruction manual.
Z45.
If they lost the code, the puzzle could never be solved again.
Day by day, she vanished back into the crate.
The torch came down first. The light was extinguished for the journey.
To the onlookers, it looked like an execution. To the engineers, it was logistics. Over 200 massive crates were constructed. The copper was cushioned with straw to prevent dents during the rough Atlantic crossing.
Heave! Ho! 350 individual pieces of the goddess were packed away. The iron bones were bundled like firewood. A train of 70 wagons was needed to carry her to the port.
The courtyard fell silent. The giant was gone, packed into 214 crates.
The destination, ruin, then the open sea.
She left Paris, never to return. May 1885. The journey to the New World began. The French warship Isère waited to carry the heavy cargo. The crates were lowered into the dark hold.
Like opening a time capsule, the copper face saw the light again. The crates were cracked open on American soil. Without the numbered codes, it would have been impossible.
Now, the American crew had to decipher the French puzzle.
Without the numbered codes, it would have been impossible.
The skeleton rose again, the spine of liberty. The skeleton rose again, the spine of liberty.
The reassembly was faster this time. They knew the path. Inside, a double spiral staircase was installed for future visitors.
The torch was prepared to light the harbor.
The crown became an observation deck for the world.
It started with a hammer.
The thousands of holes aligned perfectly, a testament to French precision.
Time would turn her green, but the copper heart remains.
A monument not carved, but manufactured. From the torch to the broken chains of tyranny at her feet.
The face of his mother? A Roman goddess? No, she was now liberty enlightening the world.
Dedication Day. Rain fell, but spirits were high.